Hey guys, everything new under the sun. I wanted to bring to your attention what's happening in BC. Fascinating stuff. There's a video here. Try and put the link in the description of massive landslides in British Columbia. I don't want to stay in there too long because I'll get a copyright strike. But catastrophic flooding, agricultural disaster after record rains caused catastrophic floods in British Columbia. I think this really raises the idea that let me scroll down there. It should raise concern to you that you should be ready for anything. No one saw this coming. Think what preparations you had. Did you have preparations to escape from Vancouver and maybe get to Alberta or something when something went down, when some catastrophe happened? Did you have plans to get out of the city? Well, interestingly, in BC, basically all roads were cut out of, I think it was Vancouver. They were completely cut off because of the heavy rains, the atmospheric river that was happening. British Columbia has declared a state of emergency on November 17th, 2021, after several days of heavy rain caused catastrophic floods in parts of the province. At least one person killed. Here's another one. A disastrous flooding cuts Vancouver off from rail road service. So if you thought you were going to get out in a disaster, beware. Maybe you can't. Maybe you won't be able to get out when something massive happens. And this is going to happen more. And everybody says, well, it's climate change. Well, sure. The climate's been changing for 2,000 years, even more than that. The climate's been changing since the flood. As the world has been getting warmer and warmer since the flood of Noah. It cooled off after the flood significantly. It was paradise prior to the flood, where they were living, 400, 500, 600 years of age, and it wasn't a paradise necessarily after the Garden of Eden, but it was still, I think, a temperate world, a tropical sort of world, until the flood, and the water canopy, the ice canopy, collapsed. And that cooled down the world significantly, flash freezing animals of all sorts. And that's why we see flash frozen animals in Siberia, etc. And watch the video, the movie. I think it's The Day After Tomorrow. And that shows a situation where these mass flash freezing events could occur. I don't know how scientific it is, but it's interesting to see what could have been happening at the time of Noah's flood in the northern areas, northern latitudes. Very interesting. But the world has been cooling ever since, warming up ever since the flood. Because it cooled down because the ice canopy came down, fell to the earth, created the ice caps, and it's been warming up for the last 4,000 years, effectively. So it's very, very interesting that this is happening, but this is not man-made climate change. I don't subscribe to that. I think this is climate change that God had planned all along. Remember, everything that's happening, Satan's going to try and say, you know what, God didn't predict this. This isn't part of God's plan. This is because man. And if man created it, that means man can solve it, right? Satan wants to make man believe that man can be gods, man can change the world, man can fix everything, man can come together, create a Tower of Babel, and fix all the wrongs in this world. No, there's no sin in this world. If we all came together as men and women of the world, we could solve everything and get rid of sin and be our own gods. That's what Satan wants you to think. He doesn't want you to know the truth that there was a flood. The earth is warming up because the whole world is just heading back to, I think, maybe its equilibrium of a much warmer planet, a greenhouse effect planet, which it was prior to the flood, in the days of Noah prior to the flood. And in the Garden of Eden, it was a greenhouse effect. The whole earth, all the way around, was tropical. And so that's where we're going. But with that, we're going to have these weather disasters. Definitely. So climate change, sure, but man-made climate change, no. So it says there are now worries of imminent hunger and empty fuel stations. Remember, the city of Vancouver is cut off. So you were thinking you'd escape to the hills, escape to your cabin, take your camper somewhere with all your off-grid solar supplies. In this case, no, you're stuck in the city. You can't necessarily get out. And under state of emergency, very likely police, there's even military on the ground now. They're not letting you get out. So now you have to survive in your apartment, in your small, in your duplex, in your single detached home with the supplies that you have. And that's not far away from everybody else who is hurting, who is going to be getting desperate. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be Mad Max in Vancouver. There's lots of police and military there. I don't think it's going to break down for this thing. I think they'll be able to resolve it fairly quickly. But that being said, you need to be prepared to stay in place and not escape to the hills. And this is why you need to be prepared for several different things. Let's look at some of the damage there. This is a picture of a railroad that has been significantly undercut. You look at the pilings there that are all washed away because the side of a mountain basically washed down. Here's a zoomed out image of the same, where are we here? Out of a helicopter. You can see on the right hand side, it's basically on a mountain. The mountain washed out, took out basically all the support of the railroad. Amazing it's still there. But the road that went under it, you can see that, let me scroll up a bit, you can see that the road under it, the highway, is completely washed out. That's going to take days to fill back up, to rebuild, if not weeks, because there's roads and washout and clearing that needs to be done, and some more significant emergencies even. So you need to be prepared for these sorts of things. I think these will increase in the last days. This is going to play into the famine and the economic collapse. All these things are slowing down that, causing trouble, putting pressure on the economy, putting pressure on the food supply, putting pressure, understatement, on the supply chains, because the supply chains are absolutely cut off. Even the railroad, they're not running that railroad. That supply chain is 100% cut off. They're hoping to get it back together quickly, but this is going to only increase around the world. Both CN and CP, so railways, are surveying the damage to their shared parallel main lines along the Thompson-Fraser rivers, November 16th. CN train derailed on CP track near Yale, BC, and remains immobile. So not only are they fixing the rail lines, but now they have to deal with a derailed train because of the slides and whatever else is going on. Crews continue to perform critical repair work following the mudslides and washouts that interrupted movement of railway traffic through southern BC. So you got to be ready for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe a month of lack of food, lack of gasoline. Do you have enough gasoline for a month of running your generator? This is why it might be a good idea to get solar. Now, interestingly, in Vancouver, they get so much rain. Solar probably isn't going to work that well. So you need to be prepared to go without electricity, or be very conserving of it when this hits. This is just a great eye-opener, a great example of, you know what, you may have had all your preparations in place, but now you can't do any of them. You can't get out of town. All the roads are blocked to get out of town. Interesting situation. In Vancouver, honestly, I don't think I would have seen this coming, I don't think I would have recognize that it's possible for all roads out of Vancouver, road service and rail, to be cut off. And amazing. It says CP manager Salem Woodrow said the railway has deployed crews and equipment to the region. CP engineering teams are working to repair damaged rail corridor as quickly as possible. There is no time estimate for when service will resume. There is no ETA or estimate when supply chains will come up again. There is no estimate when gas tanks will be refilled at the gas pumps, when pumps will be running. There is no estimate when grocery store shelves will be restocked with food if they need to come from outside of town. And for a big city, all food, all gas comes from outside of the city. It's none of it's local. A lot of it's coming from across Canada and maybe even the U.S. via rail, via a lot of trucking there. So this is really a catastrophic situation, and I think this blows open the whole idea of what your prepping plan might be. Are you ready to shelter in place, to secure in place, to live where you are with enough food, water, where you are, knowing that you may not be able to get out of town. You may not be able to get out of your house. Similar to the lockdowns that happen. You may be living with what you have right in front of you. So be prepared. This is kind of a eye-opening situation happening in BC as we speak. Be prepared, guys. This is going to only increase in the last days. And now I think the storm is coming for the East Coast now. Going to be lots of rain and I think cold weather. So we're going to see what that brings. But we are in the last days. Weather events are going to increase. Climate change is happening. It's not man-made. It's God-made. But man will do everything he can to say that this isn't God. This isn't a warning of the last days. This isn't a warning that the Lord's coming soon. This is not a warning that we need to return to God and get away from our sin and turn to Christ. This isn't that. It's completely man-made, and man can fix it. Man can control it. Man can do it all. No, don't turn back to Jesus Christ for these things. Don't pray to God for salvation. Don't pray to God for safety and provision. Let's do our own thing. This is what man is saying. This is what Satan wants man to say. Guys, the Lord's returning. Make sure you know the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. He's coming soon. Times will get harder, and all your preparing for off-grid and food, I think it possibly will all come to naught. It will be worthless in the last days as these things ramp up as we head into the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.